show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You were notified of the executive session. How come?
The first was Ryan Bowman. I don't have your email. Would you describe?
Just basically the moment of silence for those who were killed in the Michigan school shooting. This case.
Thank you, Ryan. And also April Walker had requested a moment of silence so that if people wanted to pray prior to the meeting, they could have that moment. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:12. D, announcements. B, our board reorganization meeting was held on December 6th at 7 p.m. An executive session was held also on December 6th at 8:30 p.m. for personnel and legal discussions. An executive session was held on December 7th at 8 p.m. for personnel and legal discussions. And the executive session was held today, December 8th at 6 p.m. also for personnel and legal discussions. A special board meeting will be held on December 20th at 7 p.m. for general business. And after that, the next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on Monday, January 24th, 2022. Jean, roll call.
Ms. Joy Pierce,
Present.
Mr. Richard Phelps.
Here.
Ms. Barbara Bose. Here. Mr. Nathan Foeller.
Present.
Mr. Jeremy Glausch.
Here.
Mrs. Karen Sittler. Here. Mrs. April Walker. Here. Mr. Walter Zalazowicz.
Here.
Thank you.
Item F, purpose for the special meeting is to allow for general business, paying of bills and such. And now we'll move on to section G, public comment. And we'll start with Janice Bowman.
Thank you for allowing public comment, because we have a heck of a lot of stuff to do today. And I want to congratulate all of you, and it looks really good. So I'm praying, I'm just praying, so thank you. I do want to thank you, Mr. Cleaver, Janine, and the board. I did get the books from elementary, middle, and high school. I'm going to have a couple days to do some work. There's 6,000 or more. So, but I thank you for that. I'm not going to go into a lot of things because I know you have a lot of things to work on. I do want to invite you as a board. In January, the group that I'm working with, we have Peg Essex and some other people we're putting together that's going to do a meeting discussing the grants and how the federal government has tied us up locally. And she will explain to you, which I can't, that the $14,000 that we pay per child, it's actually only $1,000 we're getting from the federal government when you figure out all the mandates and stuff. But she will be doing that meeting, and we're going to try to get some of the governors that are running, because I think we need to talk to them about some issues, like the National Governors Association, which has taken us down this rabbit hole of what we're in right now with the sex books, social emotional learning, Panorama, Cassell, all of that. So you as a board can even ask them questions. So I'm giving you a heads up. I will send you a paper, who's coming, what they're going to talk about. So if you want to learn from people that I've been working with since Common Core, that's your opportunity. I do want to say again that I'm hoping you consider putting a student up there in that seat from the high school, or an alternate that will talk about things that are good in the school, things that they have questions about. Because I worked at school boards that did that. And children, I think the students, had a good representative, you know. Like, is it good, is it bad? You know, so please, once you, when you have time, consider that. You know, usually they talked and then they left. I sent a link a while back from Allentown School District, how they picked them and that kind of thing. The books, I'm not going to go into that. I hit you so hard all the time with the books and what I'm concerned about. And I think you are too. So I'm going to let you do your business stuff. But I do want to bring up the grant we're looking at, the Trojan horse, the COVID grants. And later on, Peg Essex can probably describe it better. You might even know better than I do all this stuff. So I'm not going to get you tonight with that. So I'm just here saying I'm hoping that not only your school, if I send you information, I mean it's very hard information about children dying from vaccines, about everything going on that we're worried about. Not only children, I mean football players and school, soccer players falling over dead because of heart attacks. Those are information as a nurse I am trying to share with you. Because when you start doing vaccines in the school, and we already have proof, we got kids dying, children dying, babies dying, you're going to be responsible. Now, the one thing I do want to ask is Edward Rarick. Did I say your name, Rarick?
Yes, Rarick.
I asked about the surety bonds. How many do we have in the school? Or do we have just the... I know everybody that is officially voted on, you all have a surety bond, which is not very expensive. It's done through an insurance company. But I want to know, is other people in it besides the school board, is it only elected officials?
No, myself, I have a bond. The treasurer has a bond. That is an elected official. And then the assistant or the backup secretary to the board has a bond, who's Rebecca Carpenter. And then also all of our notaries have a bond.
Do the nurses have bonds? Because I found out as a nurse, I never realized I had bonds when I worked places. And they have bonds on me in some places.
No,
And-
they don't have bonds with the school district.
Okay, but do they carry their own insurance? Because I had malpractice. How do they get coverage? Because you have a lot of people from other hospitals here. And they're considered a third party if there's an incident where someone's hurt. And they normally aren't involved in any court cases because they're not your staff member. So how do you know they have insurance? Do you know that they have insurance type of thing? Or what happens with medical staff coming in?
You're talking specifically our nurses, or?
No, I'm talking like, so we have alley nurses coming in, your mental health clinics coming in, that type of stuff.
Well, that's all part of the agreement with Lehigh Valley, and they're required to carry their certain levels of insurance. to
So they
participate in the
probably
program.
have it in their own,
Yeah, it's written into the contract.
their own thing.
Yeah.
The mental health clinic that, before you start getting into approving the clinics, do me a favor and look at the actual extent they have under the tier program, tier 1, 2, 3, 4, because you have a program under development, was it professional development, that is training your teachers to be counselors. And it's like a 6-hour, 8-hour, whatever. And what they do is on the surveys. We just did a survey in November. We just did a survey in November. And there's questions like, did you have a good week? Did you have a good 2 weeks? Did somebody happen? Did somebody hit you? Very suggestive type of questions. Do you feel, and they even get into, do you have a gun? I mean, really personal things. Or do you feel like a boy? Do you feel like a girl? These are all in nursing, actually mental health, not nursing, but they're trick words. I call them trick words. Because it kicks you into a tier, like, oh, this child has a problem with this, this, and this. And when that happens, depending on how bad it is, and you can look it up, mental health people take 3 years to know how to do this tier level. You only have a certain amount of time. Now, they can go ahead and call the mental health psychologist, counselor, whatever you have, and say, look, Jane Doe over here, this is what's going on, we think there's abuse, we think this. Your school, and this is it, look it up, can literally take control of that child without the parents knowing, because you have a trick word. So now when you have your mental health clinic, I requested the letter that you give to the parent that says, since you're busy, we'll have your child do their appointment here at the clinic over the internet. They don't realize that letter is opting out of their rights. If they find out the child needs help under medical and education abuse, they changed it in 2008, you can take the child. So I just want parents to know, so I'm not going to go any farther, but check into that before you go ahead and approve any kind of clinics in here, because I will be working with the parents and other groups to fight this on the state level, okay? So thank you. Good luck to tonight. You have a lot of stuff going on. And I have a group together that if you ever want us hooked up to your curriculum or something you want to talk to us about, they're ready to go. So when you're ready, let me know. Okay? Thank you.
Janice, did you say a date for the meeting in January approximate?
No, but I will get you a flyer, and I'll tell you who's coming, kind of what they're talking about, so that if you have specific questions, because they're better at explaining this. I mean, but I know it's $1,000, $14,000 is the only federal money, but it looks good, millions of good. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck to you.
Brian Sheeter?
This is surrounding the resignations and retirements. I was just wondering if there's any effort made to retain these two valuable teachers that we're losing at the end of the school year. I know that they've been here for 35 and 32 years, but we always hear about how there's a shortage of teachers, and I think maybe it would be, if we're not doing it, talk to these teachers and see if they'd be willing to stay around maybe another year. I know in other industries they're doing that and looking for people that are getting ready to retire, or there's a shortage of people. So I would encourage school to do that. And then the other thing I saw, just going to ask, is it common to have teachers resign mid-school year?
Read more, yes, in the last year or two, because
Okay.
we're seeing that teachers are leaving, going to different opportunities presenting themselves.
Okay.
And then becoming more common.
Do we have any type of resignation recovery protocol to try to save these teachers again? We hear that there's a shortage. We've got them still as a captive audience. We try to deal with it.
Other than the exit interviews that we, conduct with them, usually it's a monetary, difference.
Okay. There's nothing in the contract that can be done with that.
And then the contract is, and then we're tied to what we can really offer. With the contract is if we start offering it, then we're gonna have teachers who didn't get that same benefit years ago, and they don't file grievances, so there's a lot of contractual issues that come up when you're dealing with that type of program. Now, the retired teachers is different, but as far as providing, offer any more, that's a little bit tougher.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie Zumbert?
Good evening, everybody. So first of all, I'd like to welcome the board, both those selected and those elected. You are all the embodiment of moral certainty, transparency, and accountability, which I know Mr. Bradley advocated for many years. So this should be an interesting school year. So we're going to start off, I'd like to talk about item Q, which is the termination of business appointment relationship with Mr. Cleaver. I read the documents. There's a lot of whereas, wherefore, legalese. I'm not a lawyer, so just real quick and make sure I understand correctly, the relationship is being terminated because it was founded under a process that went counter to rules and guidelines. Is that correct? Is that the long and short of it?
Yeah, I mean, if you like, we can have our solicitor who wrote the resolution answer your questions, because I also am not a lawyer. I was going to have him, during the motion, describe the reasons behind that, but
Okay.
would you?
Yeah, that's great. If he answer, just because so I understand, I would assume he would have understood going into this. It's on the
Of
agenda.
course, yeah.
But yeah, sure, if the solicitor's on Zoom, he can answer me, if just a simple yes, that's the long and short of it, that's fine.
Sure, Jeff?
Yes, I did have, I just wanted to recharacterize what the question was, that it was your understanding that the rationale for the motion was that the appointments were contrary to the rules of evidence. Is that what you were saying?
No,
I just wanted to
apparently the genesis of the termination or motion was because the process under which his contract was extended runs counter to written guidelines, laws, and that kind of stuff.
Well, it is my position that the manner in which the subsequent contracts to the July 2012 contract were not in accordance with the school code and Pennsylvania Department of Education regulations for the following reasons. Number one, under state law, you can only
obviously with your 43 years of experience, you've learned how to get the most out of your hourly pay. That long answer. I appreciate it, very detailed. So as I understand from what he said, basically the business relationship was terminated because it was not established correctly under policy or state laws. My
Well,
understanding.
it's not exactly correct. We don't believe we ever had a relationship, a business relationship. It was void ab initio, using some fancy legal terms. It was void from the beginning.
Okay, that's why you're the lawyer, making the big bucks. Okay, so that being said, I know one of the goals has always been about morality. When we talk about morality, there's things that are right. Usually the word technically throws out there. That needs to be done. Yes, technically, by strict definition, this relationship could be terminated. But when we talk about right, we really talk about what we should be doing as human beings. The fact that we are going to, at this time of the year, terminate somebody's livelihood is not right. It reeks of vendetta and revenge. Perhaps I'm wrong, it'll turn out, you'll decide, you know what? His benefits are terminated, we're gonna actually issue him a contract. The gentleman right there did not write the terms of the extension. Not his responsibility. We had lawyers for that, we had board members for that. As the person that's being offered the job, whenever anybody's been offered a job, somebody says, here, we're going to pay you to do this job. The vast majority of the time, we say thank you, and we accept the job. That is what we did. That is the right thing. So to terminate somebody's livelihood over this is not right. It's not moral. It's correct. But each and every one of you on this new board is going to start off by tearing out the leadership from this district in the middle of a school year. Plain and simple. I'm curious how long we've known about this, how long some people on this board, that have been here longer than the new folks, have known about this. Timing, always suspect. But your board, well, you're actually our board, it's a year of, again, morality, transparency, and accountability. Those will continue. Maybe not from the board, but certainly from those who you serve. Thank you.
You respond, Julie Hans.
I want to say thank you too for giving me the opportunity to talk. I just had a little concern about some of the library issues that's been going on in the district, with people speaking about the books that are being pulled or possibly pulled, so that's why I'm here. And I do have a citation, MLA citation for the article that I took this information from. Being a librarian, I would always like to have something verified, so if you would like any of that information, please let me know. So this is from Meg Medina, and she's an author, former English teacher, parent who raised 3 kids into adulthood, and she's also an active school volunteer, like in the Virginia area. So this is what she wrote, but I totally 100% agree with her. She said, I'm alarmed by what's passing for parental concern as it relates to pulling books. As your friend and neighbor, I want you to think long and hard about what you're doing to school boards and to kids with your demands. Novels for teens can range in tone and topic as widely as teens vary themselves. Often we find main characters who are questioning society and what they have been taught. The characters push boundaries and face daunting obstacles as they evolve into the people they want to become. They often make risky, hair-raising choices and face unexpected consequences. This, my friends, reflects the messy and often heartbreaking process of growing up. To pull books from a school library because of the discomfort they create in adults is a recipe for disaster. It erodes the trust young people have in the adults in their lives and pushes them to secrecy. It undermines the studied opinion of professional librarians and educators. It supports a false idea that there is one version of life that is acceptable. And it denigrates the work of authors who are brave enough to name experiences that are difficult and real. Every parent is entitled to engage with their child about what they read. They are always at liberty to ask for an alternative assignment in classrooms, and that's fair. But that is a far cry from asking libraries to pull material from shelves and to insist that no other child should choose to read a particular title because a parent or a group deems something too sexual or vulgar or outside their own comfort or value system. We are a varied community with widely diverse backgrounds, tastes, and experiences. If you find a book objectionable, don't read it. That's your right, and I respect it. It isn't more complicated than that. Just don't assume that you speak for everyone or that you have the right to demand a book's removal. Once again, I have the citation. You can fact check it. Thank you very much. Duane Bowman.
Mine is in reference to the retirements of school teachers. Ms. Simcoe was an accounting teacher of mine for 4 years, and Ms. Scher was a gym teacher. Certainly, I would hope that maybe by the end of the year we can develop something maybe to incentivize them. I would agree with Mr. Shaner in trying to retain them. They're two phenomenal teachers, and it would be a huge loss to this district with the years of tenure that they have with this district. They are what you call educators. The other thing I'm just going to quickly comment on is a reference to the ongoing issue with Mr. Cleaver's contract. While I agree that there's morale and accountability, I think there's accountability on two parts. There's accountability on the part of the school district, and there's accountability on Mr. Cleaver's part in signing that contract. I guess the real question is the real moral question of, is it fair to terminate someone based on the lack of ignorance of others? And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Let's see the public comment. Moving on to general business. Item A. Do I hear a motion to accept the American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief Fund Grant as an individual allocation of $16,933 from PDE for the purposes of identifying homeless children and youth, providing wraparound services in light of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and providing assistance needed to enable homeless children and youth to attend school and participate fully in school activities, including in-person instruction, out-of-school time, and summer learning and enrichment programs.
Second.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
It was a Wally and Jeremy.
Okay, thank you.
Turn on your microphones.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm usually loud, so.
You weren't then.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item B, transfers. Do I hear a motion to make the following transfers from the general fund to the food service fund as per the reimbursements from the Commonwealth? So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the attached exemptions from per capita and/or occupational tax?
I'll second. Nobody did.
And Wally, Nathan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to refund the following? Occupational tax for year 2020 in the amount of $250 to Robert Newman.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the royalty into agreement for Ohio Pile Prints Incorporated in the Lehighton Area School District for the 2021-2022 school year at no cost to the district.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do I hear a motion to participate in the PJM Capacity Market Demand Response Program at no cost to the district? Presentation by Mr. Rear.
Good evening. I'll try and speak loudly to everyone in front of the microphone. Actually, I think I'll sit back here. Good. So this is the Lehighton Area School District PJM Demand Response Program.
Ed, do you want me to turn off the lights?
Yeah, it might help a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to give a brief introduction of C-Power, which is a curtailment service provider, as well as Lehighton Borough's the demand response overview and capacity market program, and then a brief path forward. And just for discussion purposes, I did do this during this board meeting because we were not having a finance meeting in December, and there is a timetable for us to get involved in this program. So the Lehighton Borough is a member of the American Municipal Power Program, which is a nonprofit corporation that owns and operates electric facilities with the purpose of providing generation, transmission, and distribution of electric power and energy to its members. In 2014, C-Power was chosen by AMP to offer demand response services to municipalities that opt into the program. And the agreement was recently renewed to extend through 2024 program year. For the current year, 2020-2021 program year of 6/1 of 20 to 5/31/21, participants served by AMP member municipalities will earn $575,000. So who is C-Power? Obviously, they're an energy management company focused on demand response programs that help us maximize revenue, achieve sustainability goals, and obviously minimize business interruptions. They have quite an extensive network. As you can see, they pretty much go from Ohio through Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia, West Virginia, down into the south there. So the demand response overview, basically there has to be a measurable reduction in electric usage by the customers in response to a market condition. So essentially, if there was a market condition such as a power surge or a blackout in one of the major cities, there's a requirement for power. Essentially what this does is they ask the participants to dump their power so then they can divert that power to that area. If we opt into the program, obviously we would have to have a measurable reduction in power during that response. The benefits of this would be they would pay us. So why does it matter? Obviously there's times when there's ice storms, there's times when there's, in the summer when there's a high demand for electricity, you end up in blackout situations. Over the past 8 to 10 years, all of these situations have occurred east of I-95 corridor. So basically what they do is they're an engineering firm. They would come out and analyze our school buildings, and they would direct us and help us because they in turn benefit from this. They would analyze our systems and they would tell us the best way to achieve the dump in power. So basically we would commit to entering the program. It's no cost to the district. They would come out with their engineers, they would evaluate our programs, our facilities, our HVAC systems, and determine the best way for us to modify our power in the event that something would happen. And for purposes of this discussion, There has not been an event in the past 8 years. So what they do is they schedule an event. The event takes place in the summertime. It is usually announced 3 weeks in advance, and during that, you're given a 3-week notice and you're asked to dump power on that particular day. The thought process is, if it's in the summer, we can obviously shut down our air conditioning units, which consume a large portion of the power, and we can get to the level of power dump that we need to achieve financial gain. Here you can see the years and the number of events, pretty much 0 events dating back to 2009. I think there was 1 event in 2012, 2013 there was 1 event, and since 2014 there have been no events. So what they do is they do the scheduled event every year. So that time period for the scheduled event is a 1-hour period. So you basically have to dump your power for 1 hour. And in this slide, where's the next one? This is really hard to see, and I apologize, I can't even see it from here. My eyes are not that good. So essentially, if the Lehigh Area School District can dump 25% of its power in all 3 of its buildings, which are major buildings, which would be our high school, middle school, and elementary center, they would pay us $6,352 for that 1 hour of time at no cost to the district. If we can dump all of our power, they would pay us roughly $20,000 for that 1 hour of power. So basically what they did to get to this level, they analyzed our data with the help of the Borough of Lehigh Eidem. They provided the data. It's not the best data, but it's the best data they could get. What they would do is they would set up meters next to ours and pulse so they could determine how much power we can dump. Through the analysis of their engineers, then they would determine, they say usually in the first year they recommend a goal of 25% power dump on that one particular day. And then from there you can escalate, you can go to 50%, you can go to 100%. If we do not achieve the power dump, there's no cost to the district. So it's basically a win-win. If we can dump power for 1 day for 1 hour, they'll give us $62,000 or $6,200 roughly. So I'm asking the board to consider this. Obviously, it's no cost to the district. It's a quick way to add some money back into the district as well for minimal interruption. Now, this is only for summer. If we were to go into their summer and winter program, you get dual benefit. And if they ever had an event in the winter, I'm told that for school districts it actually works out, because typically when there's an event, it's a snow event, and we're not here anyway, or we're on a delay, and they usually ask to dump power at 5 in the morning. Are there any questions about the presentation? I realize it's hard to see.
I have some questions.
Yeah, sure.
When they come in and they assess, and I can understand where an hour may not be a big deal, but let's say it's a 4-hour event and we do summer and winter, and it's 10 below. Will our pipes freeze? Is it going to cost us a lot more than the money we're going to get because we won't have the electric?
So you're not asked to dump power for more than an hour?
In any event?
In any event.
All right.
There it shows 3 hours on the graphs.
Yeah, on the other one, it showed a 4-hour event or 4.5-hour event.
I can confirm that with them, but the event itself can last longer than that, but you're only asked to dump power for 1 hour period.
Okay, because I mean, I'm concerned in the summer, certainly, anything more than an hour could affect our gym floors, you know, with humidity, that sort of thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make sure that they may not charge us if we can't do it, but are we going to ruin things that are going to cost a lot more than the...
Right, so the extreme example is shutting down the building completely, going to a zero consumption, which would be impossible unless you ran around the building and plugged everything that was plugged into the wall, because even if it's not running, it's still pulling electricity.
Right.
The bigger things are HVAC. They're not talking about, to get to 25%, you're not talking about cutting your HVAC out altogether. The minimum kilowatt hour that we showed would be basically turning back 10 degrees. So you're talking about in the summertime, maybe increasing your temperature so your air conditioning isn't running at a cooler temperature. In the wintertime, turning your temperature back so it's not at operating level when you're not in the building anyway. So there would be no danger of freezing pipes or
Well, there's
generalization.
already a humidity issue with the gym and the EC, and has been for some time. So at least there was during when it was first open, because you could see it on the windows, on the upper windows, that there was considerable amount of condensation. And that's why the floor couldn't get finished right away, was because of humidity levels. So I just want to make sure that we wouldn't end up causing harm to the buildings. That's my main thing.
Absolutely, and my goal of this was just to get it before the board so we don't miss another year. We missed last year because we couldn't get into it. They'll certainly come and do a much more in-depth presentation for the public as well as the board. That's much more detailed than what I gave. I just asked for a couple of slides that I can at least get it in front of you so you can think about the process and if we want to move forward with it. Because like I said, there is some timetables. I think we have to be signed up by March to get into the program for the 2022-2023 year. Because there is some logistics that have to be done. They have to set up, obviously, their meters next to our meters and get pulse data. So,
Well, can we table this until the 20th so we have time to really go through? Because we really only had a day or two to look at what we received.
Do you wish me to motion?
Yeah, okay, I make a motion that we table this until December 20th, when we can get more in-depth and read all the information we've been given, and give Ed a little more time to ask the questions.
and I can send you the full presentation that they gave to me.
All right.
With the borough. The borough is a participant in this, so it's not just us.
Ed, I have a couple questions. Do they pay for the test also, or is the test just to maintain eligibility?
Yeah, the test, so if there was no event and they scheduled the test where you dump the power, you're still paid.
We are paying for the
Yes.
test?
Yes.
Okay, so we're pretty much guaranteed one opportunity a year then
Yes.
to take advantage. And then is the shutdown audit, like I know I've seen residential setups like this that will automatically turn off your HVAC and things like that. Is this an automatic?
No, it would have to
They would
be
just be
managed.
contacting us and
Yeah.
somebody would have to implement.
If it's a scheduled event, you're given, like I said, 3 weeks' notice.
Okay.
If it's an event that occurs naturally, such as a snowstorm, I believe they told me you're given 3 hours notice.
A good question. Are these rates, are they set rates or are they negotiable rates?
So the rate, obviously, we buy our power through the Titan borough, so it's based on what we pay, what we would get back.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be able to negotiate.
Okay, so we can,
So Jeremy seconded your team.
okay, so let's do a vote on tabling it until the 20th.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item G. Do I hear a motion to accept the Act 80 proposal from Group 1 to approve Bundle A and mailing labels at a cost of $851.80 to the district?
Ed, can you explain what Act 80 is?
Yes, so Burke One basically owns the computer program that manages the taxing districts. Essentially, the county provides the district with a dump of data, hopefully not on a disk anymore, hopefully on a zip drive. We then take that data, we transmit it to Act 80. What it does is it searches their database for actually where people are known to live. And then what they do is they print forms, so say somebody is actually registered in Lehighton according to the county, but based on Burke One's data, they actually don't live in Lehighton anymore, so they shouldn't be taxed by Lehighton. They essentially fill out the form, send it to the district. We have to send it then to the home district after we verify it. They have to certify it and send it back to PDD. Last year, I want to say there was 1,600 individuals with the Act 80 that we had to go through and send the forms to alternate districts. Some of it is basically, we border some close districts like Jim Thorpe and we run into Panther Valley as you go west and Palmerton as well.
Well, we also sold a lot of property here.
Yeah, so a lot of those transactions take place. Sometimes it runs into situations where it might be a student that was out at college and shows up on a tax roll somewhere. So you have to make sure that they actually are assigned to your district.
So this is for like per capita and that sort of thing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Right. And that would have to be done by us if we did not farm this out for $851?
Absolutely.
So it's far cheaper to let Berkman do it?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the following reports? December 2021, the condensed board summary, the expenditure report, and the revenue report.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any questions from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the following payment of bills? December 2021, general fund, non-negotiables, regular checks, annual checks, and credit card, and payroll, totaling $2,309,668.23.
Now, what I can tell you on this is I personally went through every invoice, and I questioned Ed on a couple of them, and he gave me acceptable answers, so I don't see an issue with it. I know there might be some other issues down the road with 609, et cetera, but let's get through what we have to do right now and work on those later. So, yeah, so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the use of school property for the following requests? Middle school art, December 16th, and LAEC PTO, December 9th, 13th, 16th, and 20th.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item K has been updated in the latest agenda because the winter weight room advisor, Terry Haberman, had been approved at the last meeting, and this was an error in the agenda. So do I hear a motion to approve the following requests for athletic coaching manager and extracurricular activity candidates as per contracted rates, pending any necessary paperwork? Volunteer wrestling, Brandon Brown Miller.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the following requests for pre-approval of courses, program study for continuing education? Employee 1434, 3 such requests. Let's see, technical to support all learners, technical to support curriculum and instruction, computer-assisted language learning, and employee 459, letter of eligibility, communication theory.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge FMLA leave for the following employees not to exceed 12 weeks? Employee 1102, effective February 16th to May 18th.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve an uncompensated leave for the following employees? Employee 1102, effective May 16th through June 20th. Mr. Cleaver is correct, there's like a 2-day overlap.
The issue with this is the policy allows for 5 of uncompensated days, so this is coming to the board because it's more than our policy.
Okay.
I think she was asking about the date. Were you asking about?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The other ones
that there are 2 snow days that may or may not be. So
Okay.
it's just covering in case.
Understood. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, wait, we didn't get a motion.
Yeah,
So moved.
got distracted by the discussion. Second?
Very second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the resignation for retirement for the following employees? Kim, how do you say her last name?
Kim MS.
MS? Great, okay, I like that, that's easy for me.
Or as we call her, Mrs. Simcoe.
Mrs. Simcoe.
Mrs. Deere.
There you go.
And Janice Scherer. Oh, and Cynthia Smith.
So moved.
I'll second.
I'd like to thank the teachers for their dedicated service to the district. There's a lot of quality education that is leaving the district with these individuals retiring at the end of the year. And again, you can see 35, 32 in 19 years. They spend a lot of time here. And even above and beyond the teaching, there's a lot of extra things that they partook in during their time here. And again, just thank them. The students definitely benefited from them, and just more than education. There's some great individuals there that are retiring.
So was there exit interviews already conducted, or will there be later?
That would take place when they're more close to the end. The resignation we do.
Are we going to try to talk them into staying?
That's what I said, if we didn't already talk to them, then why are they, is there any possibility of us staying here?
We could reach out to them, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's a way, so that's what we find out that
No, but to qualify for some of the benefits of the contract, they had to give their resignation by the end of December.
So then, do we authorize you for that, and should we table, can we table this?
Well, the thing is, that if they decide to, they can always come back to the district and ask approval for them to rescind the resignation. So I mean, the board would have that opportunity too. But the way the contracts are, in order to be eligible for all the benefits when they retire, it has to be given notice before the union.
That's because the contract is.
If we don't approve.
So we gotta accept that today, or we're in trouble with the benefit part of it,
But I mean, if they wish to come back, I mean, I would recommend if they wish to come back that we rescind it, for sure.
Awesome.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the resignations for the following employees? Angela Gogdo, Rachel Watts, and Michelle Flexer.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments from the board?
Sorry to see them go.
And then again, this comes down to contractual, there's nothing that we can really do to keep them, their life for the ends, obviously. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution to terminate compensation and benefits for Superintendent Jonathan J. Cleaver effective December 9th, 2021, and to authorize the solicitor to take any and all actions to protect the Lehighton Area School District as the result of having void employment contracts and appointments for Superintendent Jonathan J. Cleaver?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sultanic, would you like to make any additional comments, or did you make all of your comments when you answered Mr. Zellright's question?
I believe I comprehensively set forth the position that we have with respect to this sensitive issue. Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Can I ask a question or two?
Sure.
So the way the motion reads is, I'm sorry? The way the motion reads, or termination of compensation and benefits, it doesn't specifically say we're terminating his job, although some would imply that means we're terminating his employment. With respect to Mr. Cleaver's access to everything else in the district, what does that mean?
quick question. The motion in question authorizes effectively the passage of the draft resolution that was prepared and I believe shared as part of the agenda, if I'm not mistaken. Was that resolution shared, Ms. Muir?
Yes, it was an attachment.
Okay, so that is really what we're undertaking. The word termination is technically not used because I am of the position you can't terminate a position that was never legally created. And right now, we have a position that really is void under the circumstances. I believe that this resolution were to pass, and because the resolution calls for the declaration of contractual arrangements to be void, that Mr. Cleaver would not technically be able to have access to those items in the operation of the district for which he would normally receive. So he wouldn't be able to access any confidential student information, and he would have no other, any greater rights than a taxpayer in the community.
Okay, so that being said, would we have to remove Mr. Cleaver's access to the building effective with the approval of this resolution?
I think we can talk about an orderly resolution of that issue. By virtue of the resolution, we're able to work that out. I am not suggesting, because we are not alleging any criminal or other malfeasance on the part of the superintendent in question. I think we are willing to handle this issue professionally and work out an orderly cessation of services under the circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Sultanic, for commenting. I would just like to go on record, since my name appears on the certification as well as the attestation to the board president's signature. I am not in favor of this. I have no vote. As well, I don't think this is the benefit of the district and it will cost the taxpayers money. Thank you.
I'd also like to make a comment and questions also. First of all, I think this is a shameful way to treat somebody who served the district as Mr. Cleaver has for 12 years. If I'm mistaken, this stinks of something that was arranged long before this was brought to the board or this law firm was even brought to us as potentially the law firm for the district. Just very disappointed how it's handled. I think it sets a poor precedent, a poor representation to the community and to all of our other staff members as to how they might want to be treated by the same board potentially. And then I'd also like to ask, what is the plan, or where does this leave us as far as the administration of the district? Without a superintendent, basically who's in charge?
Ms. Pierce, do you want me to comment on that?
I would hope there's a plan for this.
There is a plan, but it has not been appropriated since this resolution hasn't been passed to discuss it. Mr. Sultanic, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I think the board, if assuming this resolution will pass by vote of the board, that the board will be addressing those issues to the extent transition is necessary at the December 2021 board meeting by way of formal action. So to make a long story short, we will address that with
plan in place that has just not yet been shared with the board? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, there was discussion yesterday in executive session regarding potential plans, assuming this issue were to be approved this evening. I don't know whether you were in executive session or not.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, because I want to thank the people, some of the comments. I do want to continue to serve this district, but again, the most important thing is for the district to move forward regardless what the outcome is of this vote. So my question would be, who is the commission officer signing the documents until this person or individual is seated on December 20th?
We're going to have to address that with PDE, but it's no different until in any situation, if a superintendent were to be on leave or being ill under the circumstances. I believe Ms. Holland, who is arguably the assistant superintendent or assistant to the superintendent.
I know she is not.
Pardon me?
I know she is not.
Well, Mr. Tapp is.
He's assistant too. He's not a certified.
Right, he is not a commissioned officer. We won't have.
And she's not a commissioned officer, I recognize that. She is by title assistant superintendent, or arguably assistant to the superintendent, and we are addressing that issue as we speak with that individual. But we will address that, and in the event that we need any specific approvals, the board will act accordingly in having somebody make those decisions.
Thank you, Jen.
So just a follow-up. So since the position is not being terminated because you're saying it never existed, who is going to go back to 2012 to sign all those documents then that apparently were not signed by an official individual in the district?
In 2012, you were legally appointed, in my opinion, albeit with a contract that was arguably non-compliant. It was the extensions that changed that. I can't change history, and it is what it is. That there was what I call under the law an ultra vires superintendent in place acting beyond the scope of appropriate authority. But I can't change history. It is what it is.
But just for the record, the Pennsylvania Department of Education has approved it and commissioned me for all the years that I've been sitting here, correct?
You have been commissioned, but
Thank you.
my position was commissioned based upon inappropriate information contained in the PDE 5529 forms, and based upon my conversations with PDE staff, they don't look at it, but based upon the documentation reached, they understand the position we're taking. And if the contract is voided, they take the position that the commission evaporates.
Are you able to share with the board the individual you talked to at PDE?
I'm not going to be sharing that publicly. I actually spoke with multiple individuals at PDE on this issue.
Thank you.
I think at this time, we're going to move on to a roll call vote and not string this out.
So the public, so George, you're not going to go back on
You had the chance to speak in the beginning. This motion has not been altered.
How much is this costing the district? I'm sorry.
Negative money.
Negative money? How many billable hours have we paid to Fox Rothschild for this? And do we have an estimate on how many we're going to pay when Mr. Cleaver is obviously going to file a lawsuit?
Can we just do the roll call, please?
Go for it, Barbara.
Roll call vote, Ms. Virginia. Motion to approve.
Ms. Barbara Bose?
Yes.
Mr. Nathan Foeller?
No.
Mr. Jeremy Glausch?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrie Sidler?
Yes.
Ms. April Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walters Lonzowicz,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Bell,
Yes.
Ms. Joy Beers.
Yes.
7 yes, 1 no, motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Kluger. Do I hear a motion to approve Brian Shaner as a board member for the term of December 8th, 2021 until the reorganization meeting following the municipal election in 2023?
I'm sorry?
So
Got the
moved.
moment, try and put on you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
We discussed this at the last meeting. Does anyone have any other thoughts before we take the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Okay. So moving on to the Carbon County Technical Representative. I did not have anyone come forward as a volunteer. So I'm looking for a volunteer here today.
This is a 5-year term. If we can't go today, we can't go today, that's all.
Mr.
This also does not have to be a board member.
Right, it can be anybody in the community that wants to be involved.
Mr. Fuller, this was the position you were filling for a time, is that?
No, this-
No, this is the JOC, the.
Oh, I see.
That's
Mr. Eidem knows this.
Oh, I see.
And the meetings are not every month. There's some years they probably didn't have a meeting, I would imagine.
We said once or twice a year, so in some cases.
I think we'll just table it then and move on.
Would it make sense, I mean, to advertise this at all in a newspaper to maybe possibly get somebody who doesn't watch?
Well,
the
perhaps
meetings?
Derek could write an article on it. And we wouldn't have to pay for an advertisement.
That would be so nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Make it the headline.
I think he has his headline.
I know.
Okay.
So we need to vote on tabling it.
Do I hear a motion to table?
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item T, similarly, for CCTI, I did not have a volunteer, someone at this time interested. It's a 1-year term only.
And just to clarify, this is the alternate, so because I'm still the representative of GLC, this would be in the event that I can't make a meeting.
Right.
In the past, this was Steve Holland.
Oh, yes, you're correct. Thank you.
And that also does not have to be turned over, correct? Elected.
This,
And there's a voting member. Yeah, we'll vote on budgets and we'll vote on.
So that's the same as the CLI. Yes, you remember. One again. I can't drive at night. Except locally.
Let's move to the 20th on.
What's that?
The table until the 20th and then go to the
Okay, motion to table.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to
Okay,
Seconded.
great. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd
Opposed?
like to interject too, Wally, you would probably be a good fit for that because of their ties to all the trades and
Yeah,
labor.
that's what I'm considering.
Janine, just put Wally's name in there for me.
Okay. Appointed.
Well, it's just one motion that while we will be legal.
Okay, are you voting?
You will? Yes.
Yes.
Similarly, for the IU, this position has been open since Mr. Wentz resigned.
It's also has to be board.
Correct. Is anyone interested in being representative to the IU?
And these meetings are once a month. We do that once a month.
Once a month. And we won't be having a board meeting a month.
No. You look like you're thinking
I'll
about it.
consider.
You'll staff.
Okay.
I'll second that, Cable. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have come around to public comment. No one had given a slip, but if anyone wishes to speak, they may.
I would just like to put on the record that at this point, I'm only serving as the New Haven High School principal. I have not been sworn in as an assistant superintendent in the school district. At this point, I do not have a contract that is being recognized by the board, and until that capacity is taken care of, spoken to with my attorney, I will only serve as high school principal, not signing off on anything with PD. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I know you haven't mentioned the library, but I'd like to stay on as a library representative. I'm working on a major fundraiser for them right now, and it would make it a lot easier for me to continue with that fundraiser if I had some kind of board approval. And the library is quite happy to keep me, so.
Well, Carol, on the 20th, it'll be on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's
But
good.
I'm hoping that you'll consider that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering. What's that? No, you would speak now in the public comment.
I want to know, you used to be on here, new business, old business?
Well, because it was a special meeting, it wasn't a full agenda.
Are we still doing public comment?
Yes.
Go. There was a better way of going about this with this contract. There's a totally different, better way, I think. I was under a different impression here. It's gone, it's done, it's over. However, I think there was a different way of doing this. That's just my opinion on that. I think moving forward, it is what it is. We have to move forward. We can't sit and stagnate. However, I hope that plan is explicitly clear and a clear, smooth transition. It seems like there's already been a lack of communication as to that plan. I don't know where you're indicating at what the transition of this whole position, but I think there needs to be a smooth transition. I think this is already sending a ripple effect. And I think that in the next 24 hours, or by Monday morning, this board collectively needs to ensure that that plan is a smooth transition. You firmly made that vote, and you need to make sure that it's firmly smooth, that there's a transition for the student body and educators.
So you would have us pay, after this was decided, for a null and void contract?
That is not what I'm saying.
Because that's against the law.
I'm not saying that it's not against law. I'm not disputing. I don't think there's an argument here.
Well, you said there was a better way to do it. I'm just
not
asking
saying
what
that.
would that
That's not
be?
what I'm saying, Mark. That's not what I'm saying.
What would that be, the better way to do it?
If you want to discuss that, I will discuss that with you one-on-one.
Okay, because it was mentioned that, could we just wait till the end of the school year? But you cannot hire a superintendent for any less than 3 years, or any more than 5.
Correct. I don't disagree with that. I think in a sense, it was.
In a way,
My
it should
perspective,
not.
it was, my perspective, it was seeing and reading it and looking at how it all went down, and going back in documents, is it was almost a setup. It was a setup for failure. It was a setup for failure and extension. If you clearly read the law, anyone with any common sense and any ability to read the law, okay, knows that what they precipitated was completely legal.
What was?
It was null and void. It's null and void. I don't disagree with the contract was null and void.
Right.
I don't disagree with that. That's not our argument here. My argument here is that is there going to be the repercussions that will read the idea of the thing?
Well, I'm just wondering whether you're talking about a ripple effect, because this does not affect the employees. They are, no, wait.
I'm going home.
It doesn't.
I'm going home. I'm going home.
Whatever. They have a union, they have a contract, they are protected. That's what I'm saying.
I came to this meeting late. I actually wasn't going to come. I was watching it online, and I felt that I had to come down here. This was another school board meeting where I did not hear the words children, students, education. This entire meeting was a personal agenda against one person, who only certain people at these tables knew about or had knowledge of what was going on behind the scenes. And that is very disheartening as a parent to realize that that is what is happening to our school district and to our children. I brought my son here tonight so he could see who is representing him. And he hasn't heard anything about himself tonight. I have had my own personal debates and not seeing eye to eye with the superintendent, as many of you have. But we've worked through those problems and we've come to a conclusion, and it's usually worked out. This superintendent knows my children by name. Every time he speaks to me, he asks me about them. And you are terminating this position with nobody in place to take it. And I think that is a detriment to this school district.
I'd just like to say, anybody who thinks this doesn't affect the teachers should ask a few teachers how they feel after this has happened.
In particular, the ones that just resigned.
I appreciate the opportunity again to speak. I appreciate the opportunity to join the board when that happens. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to effectuate as much change as I would like to from the outside, and hopefully that will change once I get on the inside, although I'm not all that positive after what I witnessed here this evening. I'll go back to my original question that I asked before the motion was passed. How many billable hours have we spent on this project? Do we have that number? We don't have a number. Can our attorney provide that to us?
Jeff?
I had trouble hearing the last comment. It's been dark, but unfortunately, can you clarify?
Yes, a citizen wishes to know how many billable hours that your firm has dedicated to all items, including just this one item?
Just this item.
Just this one item.
I don't have an organization as we speak. I represent a lot of districts, but I do not have an organization as we speak, but the bills that we submit, other than the entries, are public record and will be adopted and acted upon by the board once submitted. But the bills haven't been finally calculated or rendered. The way we handle bills is that at the end of the closure of the month, they start getting processed. As the responsible attorney, I believe that they're probably issued about 2 to 4 weeks after we have the entries, and then they're issued electronically to Mr. Rarick for payment and approval by the board. But I don't have those numbers if we speak.
I would like to make a request that the solicitor provide an itemized breakdown of billable hours for the next meeting that's scheduled on December 20th with a potential estimate for the cost that it will be to defend the district against a lawsuit from Mr. Kleber. Thank you.
I don't know what Mr. Cleaver is going to do. He has nothing, the costs involved in this process will be not very excessive.
I would still respectfully like to request the itemized billable hours for this project work, please. Thank you.
I have a totally different subject. I'm sorry. I have a question. Close contact notification for COVID. Can anybody clarify how that is supposed to take place?
Right now, it's taking place via email notification.
Right. My son is in the same classroom with one of my good friends, and they received an email today stating that their daughter was in close contact with a student, and I did not receive that email. My son has now come home. I have 9-year-old grandparents who live with me, and I was not notified.
I'd have to look at the individual situation though to see how the close, like the case management or the case studying after it was done for the close contact tracing, the city, why, why they were notified. But usually they're pretty good with going back and looking at students that were sitting next to the class. I can double check on that. But that is, it's a difficult task. Happy to do it because we went from not having to worry about it when we were required to wear face coverings, and now that we're not, it's optional. It's very difficult for our nurses to give you an accurate close contact because a lot of times they're talking to teachers and they're looking at seating charts. Okay, were they working in a group for some reason? So it is an undertaking, and I feel sorry for what our nurses are going through.
Absolutely, and this wouldn't be the case if the students were still wearing masks.
That is correct.
Hearing no other comments, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:35. Yes, please. Yes, Jeff? Have a good night.
Thank you, I appreciate it. You're awesome.
So that was like.
Yeah, that's all right. That's it. Sometimes it rocks and sometimes it rolls, right? Did I leave my other water here? Oh, no. I know, yeah. Somebody
Here's questions. Did you get your moment trying on video? Because I saw you at the Washington did get turned.
Hold on, wait a second.
Moment of
So what was your name? Didn't you show up to the executive session?
I was not notified of the executive session.
You weren't notified of the executive session. How come?